Welcome to mid-July. A fly just went by. That rhymed. I did not want that to rhyme. Welcome to mid-July. This is my life in mid-July. I actually have had so much work, and Monday through Friday I just have zero time. And in the last couple of weeks it's really been stressing me out, and I thought, like, what can I do to de-stress? Because normally, especially this time of year, I would be traveling, visiting family, visiting friends. That's what I was doing this time last year when I went to Washington, D.C. on a work trip, and I saw friends. I saw family last year. So it's been really strange for me because I've been kind of only having work to think about, even on the weekends. I've been doing work on weekends, or I've been like stressed about other things that I need to get done on weekends. So this weekend is the first weekend in a long time when I haven't really had obligations or work to do. And so lately, when I do have these rare periods of downtime, I've been painting, which is a hobby I had years ago. And in fact, I have taken art classes and I've been trained on studio art. And this is just an ability I have, but I very rarely exercise. In the winter, I don't tend to paint a lot of big pieces with acrylics. I tend to maybe do little watercolor sketches. But in the summer is the perfect time for me because I can take all of my painting supplies outside and on my balcony and just paint and not worry about a mess and not worry about, well, for the most part, I have enough space for what I want to do. Actually, I keep my paints in this box. I bought that box at TJ Maxx, and it's actually really lightweight and it's great. Plus it's aesthetic, so I can put it on my bookshelf. I don't have to have a special hidden spot for paints. I have a glass garden table. It's great because the paint, you can kind of scrape it off if I spill some. I have a number of acrylic brushes I'm using. And I paint on a wooden canvas. I actually do not like the normal fabric canvas. I can't explain it. It's just not my favorite thing. And I cover it in a coat of gesso and let it dry before I start painting. I would like to get new trays. I just use little palette trays, cheap little palette trays like that, but they do get kind of messy even though I clean them off. And especially working outside, paint dries really fast. So I've had problems with paint drying too fast as I'm working, basically. I have a number of random paints. Some are newer, some are older. In fact, this brand I believe is discontinued. I kind of collect them as I go, but honestly some of these paints are 10 years old or older, I think. It's always great to work outside with nature. And yeah, you can see the rest of this is just my balcony. I have a whole balcony tour if you want to see it. I actually filmed my balcony tour not that long ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and everything looks so different. It's kind of overgrown at this point. I do have raspberries now, so I have a snack while I work. So I'll show you what I have been able to do in my rare downtime periods. So I have been doing some paintings. You can see two of them up there. Those two up there. Not this one. This is an antique painting I bought off of Etsy recently. The last couple of years when I've drawn or done paintings for fun, I've actually started to do really abstract paintings, and I've done a lot of like semi-abstract to totally abstract landscapes. That's kind of been my thing. Interestingly, maybe because it's just summer and I feel like it, I've kind of gone back to painting and drawing florals, which is something I did years ago and haven't been into a lot in recent years. Still prefer a sort of moving towards abstraction style of painting. I've been trained and I've taken classes in painting in like this very classical style of like picture perfect, accurate depictions of things like a photograph, painting them that way. But that's kind of the advantage of having already learned that formally, is now I can totally break the rules, which I definitely do break the rules when I'm painting. So that's kind of why I don't think I would ever necessarily put instructional videos on YouTube, because I break too many rules. I'd have to go back to the beginning if I were really talking about how to paint. One of the hard things about having this hobby as a creative person, and especially like sharing it on YouTube, is I always feel like there's so many people who do this stuff so much better than I do it. And so I feel like, well, if I'm not in the top tier of people doing a great job with it, you know, what's the point of posting it? But that's just like, that's actually a personality trait I have with everything in my life, where if I think I'm good at something, I feel like I have to be really the best at it, otherwise it's not worth sharing. And I'm trying to break out of that habit, so that's kind of, this video is helping me, so thank you for that. This painting's causing me a little bit of grief today. For one thing, I find mixing greens is really hard, and it's really frustrating because it's a very specific green that I want to create and I'm having a rough time with it. The other thing that's a little bit hard today is it's so hot and the humidity is actually fairly low, so my paints are drying out really quickly, so just when I get the right color it's like gone. Well, I'll show you. I think I'm being too hard on myself, as per usual. I took a little break, which is always a good idea when painting. I actually went back and looked at the bouquet that is my inspiration. I'm not staring at it. I don't need to make an exact replica of it, but it is kind of nice to have something live for you to reference. I did that. I realized that I was missing some like kind of purple pink color, so I'm trying to add that in now. So far I like it. I don't love it. Actually, I do think the more I look through it, even looking through the camera lens, it actually looks better. Sometimes you stare at things too long and you need to take a break. The greens are getting better. They were definitely rough at first. I do like the red and orange I have in, so that's all good. I think I need a little bit of a darker color. I'm going to mix some gray with that blue and use that to make the shadow. I was kind of experimenting with using a green gray as a shadow, but it dried too light, so I'm not going to keep that. Yeah, there's my palette. I keep adding water, it keeps drying out. It's a bit of a difficult environment to work outside, but it's also really well worth it. Yeah, I'm kind of at the fun part, so I added a bit of a darker color just to a couple of strategic areas to give a little bit more contrast. And I'm about to go back with some white and just clean up this vase to make it look like an actual vase. I'm adding a bit of something called Naples yellow, which does, I believe, have white in it. So I have to use that pretty sparingly, but that also adds a bit of contrast. And I just got a new pink paint as well that I'm going to try extremely sparingly. These are colors that tend to look, in my opinion, a little artificial, so I have to be careful about using them. I love this sage green, white, and pink mixture. Flower I really like. I don't want to do too much too. The other thing about painting in this style, you have to know when to end. I'm afraid if I work too much more into it, it's just going to get very muddy. So recently, just for fun, because you know, we have a plague and everything we're dealing with, I bought a paint color that's an iridescent paint color, iridescent pearl. I have never tried using these. And then I also bought something called Renaissance Gold. And I've never tried to use paints like this. I'm not even sure they existed years ago when I took painting classes. I don't use things that are very fake like that, iridescent or gold or whatever. However, since I do have a vase, and in real life this vase is kind of pearlescent and it has gold on it, I thought, okay, now is my chance to try these paints out. And I may regret it. It might ruin the whole painting, but you'll be here to see. So here we go. I don't think I'm going to cover the entire thing. I think I'm just going to add a bit as an accent. I'm actually not sure whether to put it on the light side or the dark side. In this painting, I imagine the light is coming from this direction down. All right, that's enough. That's all I dare use, just a little bit. See these kind of yellow-green things I sort of painted in earlier? That in real life is actually gold. So I was thinking of making a few gold accents. Oh, I probably should have waited for the pearlescent to dry. I don't mix my colors with a palette knife, as you'll notice. And sometimes I also, you know, paint different colors on top of each other rather than carefully layering it, which a lot of acrylic artists do to make things look a little bit better, I guess. We'll see how it looks when it dries. So I'm gonna consider it done. I will eventually paint the sides a darker color, probably one that matches this kind of shaded area. But for the most part, I would say this painting is done, minus any minor touch-ups I may do eventually, if I see anything. I'm going to let it dry overnight and take a look at the final result later. You know, I think one of the reasons why I like painting, and especially painting in this style, is that I don't have complete control over the outcome. After a long week where I have to maintain incredibly tight control over the quality of the work I do all week, it's nice to paint in this style that's loose and free, and I don't have complete control over the paint and the weather and the environment and the air and how fast it evaporates or how fast it dries or how the colors mix, or I mean, I have a little bit of control, but not really. It's kind of up to the materials too. And yeah, I kind of like that. I sort of like that loss of control, so to speak. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you're also kind of a creative person and if you're finding this is a good time right now to draw or paint or get back into like a creative hobby that you used to have. I'd really be interested in knowing. Now is kind of a difficult time to be totally creatively inspired, yet if you really are relaxed by this kind of thing, on the other hand, it is kind of a nice time to go for it. Do it. If it's a hobby that's relaxing, you know, why not?